Welcome to the Literature Lounge, where writers and authors share their stories behind their stories. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Jairam N Menon, who's a communications consultant. He began his professional career as a sub-editor with the Free Press Journal and then joined advertising and PR department of a very leading engineering and construction company. Of course, he's a writer, and that's why he's here with us today in the Literature Lounge. His versatility includes journalism, advertising, and corporate communications. The seed of his books was sown in a column that he used to write for the in-house magazine for the leading engineering and construction company that he's going to tell us a little about. And also, it proved to be the reader's favorite section. So, welcome for today's episode, Jairam. And your book, Masala Chai for the Soul, offers a very humorous and satirical take on life's various aspects. It's described as the ultimate how to book that ends all how to books. The book is not intended to be like Chicken Soup for the Soul, but it's a light-hearted, enjoyable read that infuses masala wisdom from a range of sources from Aristotle to Zen and from Shakespeare to stand-up comedians. My goodness, that's like really large. The repertoire of everything included in Masala Chai. So, Jairam, can you just tell with us the moment that you realized that you wanted to become like a full-time author, writer, and how did you embark on this path?
Uh, Thank you, Mohua, for having me on this show. And it is quite an honor. But how I found that I am going to be a writer, actually, I think it was, or rather is in my genes. Because there's nothing, no watershed moment which said, hey, here comes the writer. That did not happen. Uh, I think I got it from my genes. My father, Achin is what I used to call him. I can't think of calling him anything else. True Blue Malu. So he was a writer himself. He used to write for he used to work with the LIC and help bring out their house magazines. And he also had an ailment called which meant that he used to buy books, keep buying books at a rapid pace, much more rapid than he would read them. I didn't know then, but it is actually a fairly well known ailment, and there's a word for it. The Japanese word is sundoku, not sodoku, but sundoku, which means keep buying books and not necessarily reading them. So I grew up with among books, not books that I would read when I was a child, but have books all around me, sprawling all around me. Probably have some books in the cradle too. So that was how it started. And then in school, I was at in Bombay, St Xavier's, but in a suburb of Bombay, Villa Parley. So there, I was decent in English composition. Okay, my relatively speaking, because my physics, science, chemistry were all disastrous. So I thought of sensed that God wants me to be a writer. There was actually no alternative. So that's how I got myself into this chair and position.
Oh, wonderful. That's a very, very good ailment to have because, over time, all these ailments is not going to be possible because books, honestly, are all going to go on, to our Kindles and, the entire, the fragrance of a bookshop is something that, I really hope that the generation ahead enjoys it as much as we did. Whenever you buy
And
a new book and even now, those are those sensory memories that I have, of books. I too grew up. My father too had the same ailment, but he read books a lot, and so I too grew up with a lot and lot of books all around me. So let's just talk a little bit about your writing Masala Chai for the Soul. What got you into writing this book?
Yes. See, there are two ways that you can evolve as a writer. One, you can be exceptionally talented, or you can be lucky, very lucky. Since I realized very soon that I was not exceptionally talented and not very lucky either. So the only solution was to work. And work I did. I mean, I read all those books that my father had handed me down from my father and other books that I could find. So I got to writing them and reading them. And then slowly, by a process of evolution, there were friends, my friends from school, friends from later life. Uh, I think they must be they must be given credit too, because they would tell me, encourage me by saying, so they'd say, and as part of course of conversation, uh, how things very hot, isn't it? Terrible traffic. Why didn't you write a book? So they were making polite conversation, but I took them seriously. And I said, okay, since so many people are talking to me about telling me that I must write, albeit among a course of a lot of other and totally unrelated subjects, I thought I must do it. And then, fortuitously, I was then working for this engineering company. I just joined them, and my bosses, who are still around, and I hope they are listening to this interview, they encouraged me by giving me a column to write, a column that would help people overcome the kind of stresses that jobs involve. It was called Take It Easy. So that was one of the seeds for this book. Actually, that's not the beginning, because I should write earlier too. But I think this book, uh, finding the beginning is like finding the beginning in a plate of noodles. You can't really find out where it began. But then that happened, and multiple other things happened, and then I ran into my publishers and discovered that we both laugh at the same jokes. And so I said, okay, this seems to be propitious moment to begin publication of the book. And so that's how this book found saw the light of day.
How wonderful is that? So, your book actually, it's like a guide, and you use humor in a huge way to tackle life's everyday situations. So, what made you like mix humor, with life advice in this way? Were you ever inspired with another book that you'd read, or it comes very naturally for you? I can obviously see that there's a funny bone all the time tickling inside while we're talking. So, I'm sorry, that's like, it's just it's so visible. But did you inherit this humor, or did you kind of, you were inspired? Because I think humor is one of the best ways to actually give life advice. Yes. So tell me your story.
So I feel life advice. I actually had begun this book thinking that I'm going to make it a straight book, straight self-help book. It said that self-help is self-help, and humor is humor, and never the twain can meet. But I played Cupid between the two, and this book is the love child. So I find that that life advice must carry a caveat that it's partly based on belief, partly on bullshit. I think life advice without that caveat could be injurious to health. You must take advice for what it is worth, but also realize that there are limitations, and you should be able to see the limitations and take the advice for what it is good. So that is how this book grew and took the shape that it now has. Partly,
Wonderful. Yeah.
sorry,
Tell me.
partly belief and partly, okay, take it with a pinch of salt or many pinches of salt.
So this is like seriously, it's so different, the two worlds that you straddle. This is this very a world in which you can be described as a man in the suit in a very corporate sector, and then there is this other side of you, which is an author, writer, humor, self-help. How do the two coexist, or is there some very serious dystopia that's going on? you know, you have to tell us a little bit. It's extremely interesting.
Let me tell you about how that word suit came in. I think the first time it was used, and it's in the book, preface is by Bachi Karkaria, who is, she wrote a book for us, and has become a very good friend. But there are many suits, many kinds of suits. And so I'm wearing a suit now myself, and this is supposed to be the artistic suit. I mean, this is as artistic as I could get. So while I think I lead a
Sorry, I
Jekyll and
have
Hyde.
to laugh at that artistic suit. It's because of the bandgala.
Is this a bangala?
Yes.
Sorry, my oh, this is a bangala, but isn't a bangalas meant to be full sleeve? This is
No, no,
half.
it can
And
also be like a half sleeve one. India has got summers. But yes, it's
ah,
fantastic. Yeah.
so I lead a Jekyll and Hyde life. So don't ask me which is Jekyll, which is Hyde. But during my day job, I'm a regular guy who has to write corporate statements and publish advertisements, all that. We do a lot of creative work in house. So that's my day job. At night, when the moon is up, and then my creative side acts up. So
And what
that's
is the
what I.
creative side? At night when the moon comes up, what is the creative side that comes out, Jairam? How do you dress at that time?
That's when I sit down and write what I'm not supposed to write during the day and let my hair down on whatever the hair there is, I let it down.
So, I think they say that Indians just take themselves too seriously and there's a humor deficit. And a lot of people don't take humor very easily. They tend to get offended. How much do you think of this sentence that there is a part truth in this? And do you really feel that there's an acute shortage of fun in among authors and among the writing that comes out?
I think Indians suffer from a lot of deficiencies, humor being one of them. But what happens is the deficiency of humor makes all the other deficiencies seem worse. So we need to take ourselves a little less seriously. I think we need to go for a laugh jihad. I'm making myself clear, laugh jihad. So otherwise, I don't know how it came up because I'm sure we did have a great humor tradition, but somewhere along the way we lost it. Probably while we were too busy doing other things like kicking out the British, who ironically did have a sense of humor, but we were fighting them, and then we were fighting other people. Now we are fighting among ourselves. So in all that, humor has become was the casualty. So there is a great need to, as I said, go on a laugh jihad, and then people say that now there's a lot of talk about speaking truth to power. It's important to speak truth to power. It is, but I think what would be more effective is if we cracked jokes to power. We need to crack a few jokes to power. I think it was John Lennon who said that authority cannot understand humor, and therefore they do not know how to react to it. So I'm I think all our people and our leaders need to get themselves a crash course in humor. I think the only politician I know of are two actually. One is, of course, our perennial favorite, Shashi Tharoor, who always has humor playing around his lips, and Sanjay Jha, the Congress non-spokesperson. He's one of those rare people who disliked by both parties, so obviously he's very good. So I think that's the need.
So, there's such a rise for therapy all around now, right? So everybody is talking about therapy. It's becoming like it's a regular thing that, instead of saying that I'm going for coffee, you say that I'm going for therapy. And so, yes, so your book tackles with a lot of issues that people really face, in today's times. So tell me, will it really work if they were to read the book and, take cues from there? What would be those top things that they could find from our book?
I guess the book will work. Jairam ka
The
guarantee.
book will work.
The book will work, but
That's for our listeners. Now जयराम ने गारंटी दी कि उसकी किताब आप सबके काम बहुत ज्यादा आएगा. So please do pick up every time you feel down and out. Um, Now, have you ever got into trouble for your sense of humor?
no. Well, I am. I think I've got a strong survival instinct. So I know when to be discreet with my humor, when to. So much of my work, I've been asked this before. I have published many articles, quite a few articles, and most of them are critical of authority. I mean, that's part of sorry. That's part of humor. So much of humor is satire. So, but I have frankly been able to fly below the radar. Probably because I'm not a famous guy. The government, the authorities, they need large targets. If you're a small man who's walking quietly by himself, they don't mind too much. I have never been caught in any kind of jam because of my writing. I don't know about this interview, but it's not so far at least.
Not at all. This interview is also not, I'm sure, not going to cause any jam, but we're going to have a lot of people laughing listening to this interview because there's some very golden words that you said, like humor jihad. I shall remember that. So you're obviously influenced by PG Woodhouse, so it's very obvious. Who are the others that have influenced you? In your family, have you had you've had a like you said about your father, that you were influenced with the books that you had all around you. Was there anyone else who played a part in, in shaping up your sense of humor towards life?
Well, I can't mention the names, but many of my people in my family have become the targets of my humor. So I'm grateful to them for that. In fact, as I'm grateful to all politicians for giving me the material to make fun of. Yes, Woodhouse has been a family deity. Part of those 80 or close to 90 books that my father had bought. And a lot of people have told me that I write like Woodhouse. And after a lot of people say these things, you tend to believe it yourself. And luckily for me, Woodhouse is no longer around. So else he would have, I'm sure, sued me for blasphemy and libel and all those things. So Woodhouse is one. There are other comic writers. Uh, there are Indians too. Bachi I talked about. Then there is Kiran Manral, who it was said, I think it was Christopher Hitchens, uh, who said that women don't have a sense of humor. Now, Christopher Hitchens is dead, and so is his theory, because I see a lot of women like you who enjoying with a sense of humor. So there is Kiran Mandal. There is what's her name? I can't get her name now, but there are, and in fact, the response to my articles in the papers, like the Hindu, most of them have come from women. So I'm pretty sure now that women have a well-developed, if a slightly different sense of humor from men. And then I have also been influenced by writers who are not full-time humor writers, but do write humor. I mean, what they write is very funny. I'll give you an example. It is Nasiruddin Shah. He has written a book, his biography, autobiography, and then one day. And that had some hilarious takes on all his satire, on all his contemporary actors. So, if you want to know the truth about, say the former comedian Mahmood, I think you must read and then one day. There are other writers too. Jag Suraya, who writes,
Oh,
and then
yes.
there is, yeah. So there are Jag Suraya, of course, is full-time yoga. So and and then you'd find in political writing too, like the Pakistani writer Muhammad Hanif, the chap who wrote A Case of Exploding Mangoes. He is very humorous too. So I go around with my antenna ticking for all kinds of sources for humor, and that keeps me going even on a dull, bad day.
Wonderful, Jairam. So, Jairam, what would be the key piece of advice that you would like to offer to youngsters who are just starting out, on their writing journey, and they would like to include humor as part of their writing? And like we just spoke, and we said that humor is also not very, very easily understood by everybody, and they can get very easily offended. But if they were to embark on this, what is it that they need to keep in mind?
I think the first thing they need to do is to develop a mindset of humor. It won't just come to you if you don't feel it already. You need to be able to see the humor in any situation. So that comes first. You need to have a bit of a lighter, be able to look lightly at life. That's one. And then I think you need to do. I know I'm sounding preachy, but you will also need to discipline yourself into writing. What you write may be funny and light, but your manner in doing it, that needs a lot of application. So there is a certain amount of rigor. It's not as if what you write could be fun, but the process of writing may not be always fun. At the end, you look back and say, okay, pretty good stuff. But while doing it, you'll have to put yourself at your computer, your laptop, and then not get up until you finish. That is involved. Yeah, that would be the advice that I would give. Also, read. Yeah, there are 3 R's that writers are generally given: read, remember what you've read, and then replicate. It won't be exactly what you have read elsewhere because you will be processing it. But the 3 R's are read, remember, replicate.
Wonderful. So these are the 3 R's that people need to remember. All our listeners right now, we're hearing this from Jairam himself. So, what do you hope that the readers are going to take away from your books? And how do you ensure that your writing resonates with them?
I'll answer the second part first. How do I ensure that my writing resonates with the readers? Well, in among all my things that you said, my different avatars, one of them was in advertising. I used to be an advertising copywriter. And among the first things that you're told is that you need to understand your audience.
Mm.
That's the first thing about communication, all communication. So I would consciously try to model my language, the way the idioms are used, all that to ensure that I build a rapport with the readers. So that is one. And the final message, well, simple. Read the book. Remember what you read and cool it.
Okay, fantastic. This was really, really, good. And thank you so much, Jairam, for being on today's episode.
Thank you, Mohua, and thank the whole team.